One more. Yeah, exactly. Once more. Thank you, laureates. Prince Constantine.
Your Majesties, Royal Highnesses, Excellencies, dear friends, honored laureates. As you have noted in many of the contributions, change is a recurring theme at the Prince Claus Fund. Prince Claus Fund operates in a world of change and is poised to change with it. We are supporting agents of change, as well as people and organizations fighting to preserve values and valuables that are key for societies and civilizations. These seem to be opposing interests. On the one hand, change versus tradition. And thinkers have been preoccupied by change since ancient history. Heraclitus said, "The only thing that is constant is change." I think we all know that one. A 20th century philosopher, Andy Warhol, said that they always say time changes things, but you actually have to change them yourself. Or another nice one from Erich Hoffer. In time of profound change, the learners inherit Earth, while the learned find themselves beautifully equipped to deal with a world that no longer exists. The good thing about quotes on change is that they always sound very good. And the funny thing is that we actually always seem to agree with them, even though in our lives we usually shun change. And also, as you undoubtedly noted, some of these quotes were inherently contradictory, and they might not even be relevant for my speech. But what is important is to note that tradition and change are not opposites. In fact, they feed each other. We just like to label things, to make it simple, where, in fact, in real life, they are not. Like hope and aspiration, things we associate with change, can very well reside with belonging and identity. And the same goes for concepts like local versus global, very often pitched as opposites, but the two are inherently linked. And what matters is to ensure human dignity and well-being of people and their societies. And writers, artists, and activists articulate the dynamics between the local and the global interest, between the traditions and the forces of change. And I hesitate if we call the forces of change progress or not. Our laureates here today with us reflect these tensions, working often under very challenging conditions, fighting resistance and oppression, and sometimes a race against time, and always a lack of resources. It is your passion, drive, and commitment to improving the human condition for which we celebrate you. The Prince Claus Fund's role is to help amplify your voices and to increase the impact and recognition of your work. But I would also hope, and I like to think, that these prizes do more than honor extraordinary activities of extraordinary people. I'd wish that these open all our eyes to the importance and beauty of human valor, creativity, originality, and the determination to do good in this world. Because what is happening in Chile, the Philippines, or Brazil, or India for that matter, isn't only relevant for the local context, but also helps us here in the Netherlands to better understand and appreciate cultural differences globally and at home. Because take this pompous but beautiful hall. It is very relevant that this event actually takes place in this monument, which is a monument to Amsterdam's 17th century colonial power and success. This was a time of rapid European expansion, exporting its values and its vices, as well as massively exploiting people and resources globally. The effects of which are still a central theme in the work of many Prince Claus Fund laureates, and in particularly Abel Rodriguez, and in more than one way. Because as Johan Maurits occupied the north coast of Brazil, around Recife in the 17th century, he also brought with him botanists, cartographers, and artists like Zacharias Wagner, Frans Post, and Albert Eckhout. They painted and recorded Brazilian nature, landscapes, and people in all their detail, for which, by the way, they're more known in Brazil than in their country of origin. And the parallels here are just too obvious to be missed at an occasion like this. In different ways, you continue this tradition of Post and Eckhout. In their botanical work, fascination for nature, and loving pictorial representation of it. Like them, you refuse to be boxed into one discipline and allow art and science, culture and nature to go hand in hand. The Prince Claus Fund rarely rewards environmental activists, but indigenous culture and knowledge systems are disappearing all around the world, and the preservation of biodiversity is of great importance. Our hope is that this award will have a positive impact in a world where indigenous culture is undervalued and indigenous people are struggling for resources, for sovereignty, for land rights, and for respect of their traditional ways and ecologically sustainable development. And as we lose the connection with nature, with the origin of the foods that we eat and the customs that we adopt, you hold up a mirror for us to reflect. And this is not about who is right or wrong, not about good or bad, west or south, but about reconnecting with what is essential in the Brazilian jungle as well as in the exploding urban centers of the world. And I was told that in seeing a video of a previous award ceremony, you remarked about the royal family, hey, they are just like us. And so it is, from the jungle to this hall. And I don't know exactly what you meant by that, but I do take it as a big compliment. And as we return now to a film in your honor, I'd like to end with one of your reflections. I'm very calm with everything. I never worry, I don't rush. I don't feel defeated by life. And I'm quite sure many of us would love to be able to say this. Thank you very much.